You're listening to the Mind Your Business podcast, episode number 39. Today, we're talking all about what to do when your patience starts wearing thin. So, stay tuned. Hi, I'm James Wedmore, and I've built a 7-figure internet business that offers the financial freedom to do what I want when I want. And I'm the first to say that hard work and hustle are not essential ingredients for your success. So, how do you build a thriving business from the inside out? This is the Mind Your Business podcast, featuring myself and co-host Phoebe Mroczek. Yes, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for tuning in, listening, and hanging out. Phoebe, how's it going?
Great. This is episode number 39.
39. That's a lot of episodes.
They always say after 20 that you're supposed to feel super confident and controlled and very articulate. So I'm not sure I quite feel that way. But
I heard it was after 40.
Exactly. We'll move it to 40. Here we go.
Any moment now, we'll figure this out. Well, listen, today is none other than one of our listener question of the week. We have so many. So I hope there's no one out there being like, they're ignoring my question. They don't like me. It was a stupid question. Why did I ask it? No, there's just so many, and it's fun to choose, but what makes us happy because we have a cornucopia of topics to choose from. So today's question has to do with the topic of patience, which I love this. We're going to have a good question for you. Are you ready, Phoebes?
I'm ready. So our question today comes from Kat, who is from London, and she asks, my problem is with patience. I genuinely feel like I'm doing everything in my power to move my business forward. I have a mindfulness practice, and I truly believe in what I'm doing and that I can and will achieve my goals. But damn, it's taken a long time, which makes it hard to keep on keeping on. So what do you do when you feel impatient?
Kat, what a great question. And it's a great question because I don't think you're alone. I think we've all felt this. I know my early days of my business, I absolutely felt this way. And I think when I draw the line in the sand of who I was then and who I am now, this is a huge difference. There was a lot of impatience in my life, a lot of frustration, a lot of why am I not getting what I want fast enough? And listen, first of all, the specific answer could be any myriad of things. And I think having a listen to every episode of our podcast can help you discover that for yourself. Because for me, it was certain things like I was afraid to put myself out there and do the things that I truly needed to do. This is what I call at-bat moments. Have we talked about at-bat moments?
No, I don't think so. Not yet.
Okay. I'm not really too much of a sports guy, but I use a baseball analogy where you're like up to bat. And, you know, when you're at the plate with the bat, the whole stadium, everyone is eyes on you. And one of two things is either going to happen, really, when we boil it down. You're either going to hit the ball or you're going to strike out. You're either going to win or you're going to lose. But either way, you were up to bat. And for me, I realized I was trying to do everything while avoiding that. I was trying to win the baseball game without ever stepping up to the plate. And I started to figure out that, wait a second, it doesn't matter how many times I strike out, but the more times I step up to the plate, the more I increase my chances of actually winning or getting the results I want. But that was the answer for me. So we can't answer the question of what is it for me that might be getting in the way. You know, that's where the mindful practice does come in, and going inward and asking yourself those questions, because we can't answer that. But we can really start to play around with this emotion of impatience and frustration. And so we're going to do that. We're going to definitely do that. I don't know if I've talked about it on this episode, but I've definitely talked about it before, this difference between patience versus persistence. And I think the entrepreneurial hustle side of things are always like, you got to persist, push through and jam the square peg through the round hole. And I am much more coming from a place of patience. You know, Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither was your business. And I do want to encourage patience, and I think there's a balance between having patience, because to me, patience, like true patience, means you have a knowing that it's going to work out. Like, I like to use really crude, oversimplistic examples, but let me ask you this, Phoebe. Do you know the sun is going to rise tomorrow? Do you know that tomorrow is going to come?
I absolutely do.
Are you impatient about that?
No.
And whether you're patient or not, does it affect whether or not it will come?
No.
So that's how I try to kind of approach some of these things, is that like, what if, standing in a place of my success is inevitable, just like tomorrow is? Can we kind of take on that same idea, right? So that's one piece, because I really do encourage it. So that's the first thing I'm going to say is like, your problem is with patience. How do I feel patient? Like, just choose patience. It is something you can choose, but we're going to help you. We're going to go a little deeper. We're going to massage this and make it a little easier. Phoebe, where are you at with this?
Yeah, so when I was reading this question before we started recording, this just hit home for me personally, because this, I feel like, has been a lot of my life, has been very impatient. And I actually had a whole conversation with my mom a couple weeks ago about how she is now learning to enjoy the journey. And she's like, I just have a really hard time with it. And it was funny because I was like, I do too. And we were talking about it. And a lot of, what she's saying in this is, how do you be patient? And not just in your business, but in other aspects of your life with relationships or, health goals or whatever. It's like, yeah, like I keep working out, but when am I going to look great in a bathing suit or, all this stuff. So it really does spill over into different parts of your life. And so, Kat, I just wanted to acknowledge you because I have a really hard time with this. And I was doing a little bit of research and a little bit of reading before this episode and was coming up with some really great stuff. So I'm really excited for this episode and excited for what we're going to explore as we get deeper.
Well, I love what you say that it really is, you have to enjoy the journey. Unfortunately, these are like really cheesy cliches that you hear at like high school graduations, and you've heard it so often that it doesn't have any meaning to you. But that's what it is all about. You have to fall in love with where you're at right now, right now. You have to fall in love with that. You have to enjoy the deliciousness of the game, the current challenge, the current problem, the current obstacle. You have to. So I said Rome wasn't built in a day, neither was your business. But here's the thing is, I can imagine, Kat, that you have big goals, big ideas, big visions for yourself. And the thing is not to take away from, the miracle of childbirth, but it's a great analogy that we can use. Like birthing an idea, birthing a product, a company, a business can be similar in some respects. To borrow that metaphor, hopefully I have permission from the women to do that. You can't rush the birthing process. And no matter how impatient we get with that, it doesn't do anything to get it there faster. It has to take its own natural cycle. And I think having a mindfulness practice, just to use your words, Kat, is really about understanding the natural progression and growth of something, that it does take time. I also do think that we are the ones that slow it down. So there is an analogy. If you listen to any of the Abraham Hicks stuff, they talk about law of attraction. They talk about this fantastic analogy where you get in your car, you're in Los Angeles, and you start driving east and you head towards New York. Well, here's the deal. You and I know it's going to take some time to drive from the West Coast to the East Coast, like days. So we also have GPS on our phones and in our cars. We've got Siri and maps and all that type of stuff. So we know where we're at all the time. But if we didn't have that stuff, the way we kind of do things, like what Kat's kind of experiencing and what most of us experience with this impatience thing, is we're getting 3/4 of the way there and we're saying, I'm not there yet. Let's go back home. Or I'm only in Florida. This is not New York. I'm going home. And what if, your success was inevitable? It's only a matter of time. Okay? So what we need to do, because it is important that you keep the passion alive, the excitement, enthusiasm alive, is that we need to create some milestones. We need to put mile markers, just like on our GPS. We can look down and we can say, here's where I was yesterday, here's where I am today, and here's how long it looks like it's going to take to get there. Like, I have that in my business. I can predict revenue. I know how long it's going to take to do a project. Like, my team came to me the other day with some goals, and I kind of laughed. I was like, you guys are crazy. This is going to take a miracle to pull it off, but hey, let's do it, because I'm aware of how long things take, and because you gain that when you've been doing it a while, right? So you want to create some milestones. You want to start looking for signs. You want to start looking for proof now. We can dive deep into that. But to use an analogy is that I remember a story, and it probably isn't a real story, but it has to do with Christopher Columbus when he was looking for land. And I don't remember the whole story, but someone points out driftwood floating in the water. And he immediately said, good, we're close to land. Keep going in that direction. And it's your job to look for your driftwood. So what you need to do is, there's a couple ways you can do this. If you want to do this with mindfulness or spiritual practice, you can actually make a request to look for a sign. Like in the next 2 days, I need to know, am I on the right track? I need to see some sort of proof that just says, keep going. I don't need to have all the results tomorrow. I don't need to have a perfect business at this perfect amount of money and all this stuff coming in and everything, because it's not. It's a never-ending journey. It's a mountain without a top. You're never going to get to the top. It's just the mountain's always getting bigger the more you take another step. So you got to fall in love with the journey. But you want to know that you've hit a milestone. You want to know that you've gotten to some place where you can pull over and rest and say, I'm proud of where I've come. And so, yes, spiritually, you can put that out there as an intention. Show me a sign. Show me something that says I'm on the right track. Just keep going. Give me that sign. That's from the right brain and the heart-centered approach. We can also do it from the left brain, logical, masculine approach. And we can literally start to look for proof from profit. I always say that if you want to look for proof in an idea, show me the profit, or even just the revenue, just money. Where is the thing where someone has actually pulled out a credit card and giving you money? I listened to Ray Edwards' podcast. Great guy, phenomenal copywriter, and he talks about copywriting on his podcast. And he talks about, I'm trying to remember the story too because it's been a while, but he talks about how he writes copy and then sends it to his friends and says what do you think of this copy? And he says they'll give you their opinion, but their opinion doesn't matter. It's only if they're really willing to give you their credit card on the spot. If your friend will give you their credit card number or PayPal information when you say, what do you think of this copy? That's the only indicator that it's good copy. Someone just saying, wow, you did a good job on that copy. Isn't good copy. That's just an opinion. Good copy is proof that someone took action. And your business, you need to look for proof. So what are you selling? What are you working on selling? I've talked to 4 or 5 coaching clients and people in our inner circle group and people in our beta group for Business by Design who have sold some sort of beta program, sold some sort of pre-launch offer before the product was even created, let alone done. One of those, we'll do a shout out to Zach Spuckler. Hopefully I have permission to share it. But he's going into a big launch. He did 5 figures before the product was even released.
Yeah.
He just said hey, here's this product I'm creating. Do you want this? Before I create it. That's amazing. So stop right now. And, you can do 2 things. You can say, show me universe, show me a sign. But you can also say, hey, marketplace, show me a sign. It is a big, fat lie of a fallacy that we have to spend years not making money to build up some kind of BS reputation in the marketplace before we can ask for money.
It's an old school way of thinking, right? Which is a way before internet businesses and way before you could start making money online, you had to invest in all this equipment and machinery before you could actually create any kind of product to sell it. And that was kind of the way forward. And that's the way people did things. Now you can sell things. This is what I know that, you recommend this, I recommend this, is sell your idea first and then build it. And then you have at least the money behind it so you can get it done quicker by outsourcing or whatever you need. However you can, improve your product or make it better. But also it proves the concept. You know that you're going to have customers waiting to buy it, waiting to go through it, and then also, on a waiting list if you have anything like that.
Well, yeah, and not, it's not only the old school way of buying machinery, but now it's people are telling you have to be popular before you can even think about being profitable. So it's now you're not getting the machinery, you're getting friends and stuff. And listen, this is business. You don't need to be friends with someone to do business together. I know it helps. I'm not knocking social media or anything, but I can give you so many examples. It's not even crazy because they happen all the time to me where I was in a Facebook group and someone I've never met before, never knew at all, answered a question of mine. It was a technical question, and they said their answer was yes, you're going to have to get this custom programmed. Well, fast forward 24 hours later, and we've hired this person to do programming work for us. And they go, this is what I do. And then we paid them money. We didn't need to build out a whole, they didn't need to build out a whole business. This is just what I do. And the thing is, it doesn't have to be all or nothing. If, let's say you were saying, okay, well, I want to create a membership site. And so it's taking time to create all the content and put it all together and the technology. And then I got to edit all these videos. And oh my gosh, I'm doing this all myself. Okay, great. What can you do in the meantime? Well, what do you mean? How could I do anything in the meantime? I'm selling a membership site. Okay, great. What's the membership on? Well, it teaches people, 20-minute daily fitness routines. Great. Do you have anyone online right now who you could work with one-on-one or in a small group setting that will pay you for that, and they're going to help you design it? No, sure you do. Of course you do, if we look hard enough. Tony Robbins talks about the ultimate resource is resourcefulness, developing the ability to be resourceful. And I think we can do that. So where's your driftwood? Where is proof that this concept works? Because you don't need it to be finished. Okay, I know you don't need it to be this perfect, $1 million business that gives you everything right now. You just need a sign. You just need a feeling. You just need something that gives you the indicator that you've made progress and you're on the right track. You've made growth. You've gotten to that next level, and you don't have to wait any longer for that. You can just go out and do it. I give you permission to do that. I give everybody out there permission. And that's what I realized for myself, as Phoebe and I have both said that we've both dealt with this, is that at one point in time, we're going to go a little deep here. You have to, if we haven't already, which I had to, come to the realization that no one's coming to save you. Mm-hmm. No one's coming to do anything for you. I think I said this, I don't remember if this is on a podcast or another one of our videos, but I said there's no mayor of Internetville that is coming down to give you the permission or dub thee the expert or tell you to do this. At the end of the day, there will come this point in time, this inevitable moment where you must take that step, that leap into the zone of uncertainty, off the ledge of here's all the stuff I've learned, all the content, all the information, everything, all my experience, wisdom, knowledge, expertise. And no matter what you have in your brain that you've learned and figured out, you'll still have to take that step, which is asking for a sale, calling somebody on the phone, doing a webinar, launching a product, sending that email out to your list, something. It's scary for the first time, right? I know you've been there, Phoebes, but you got to do it.
Right. Well, and you can see from her question, it's like, when you really believe in what you're doing, those are her words. I truly believe in what I'm doing and that I can and will achieve my goals. That just makes everything so much easier because you can just pour all that enthusiasm and that passion into moving your business forward and into, kind of this patient dance, I guess, that we're kind of referring to. And I know personally, when I was starting my business, I was like, when will I feel really successful? And I was like, at 1 million. That's when I know that I've done it. I've really made it and all this. So for me, when I was looking at it, I was like, it was just 0 to 1 million. There were no steps in between. And that was a really terrible place to be in. Because putting it all out there, obviously, I am not a millionaire and I've not made $1 million in my business. So from my old perspective, I still am not successful. But when I actually got practical with it and I stood out in that place from, okay, I've made $1 million in my business. Well, how did I get there? That just helped me create these very logical, practical steps and milestones so that I could actually be like, all right, let me look back. Oh, I've hit that milestone. And then you actually take the time to celebrate it because it's awesome and you're excited. And that just, for me, it's like that enthusiasm just it propels me forward. And when I'm not pumped or excited about what I'm doing right now, there's no way that I can keep focused or, kind of keep that energy and passion moving forward. Does that make sense?
Yeah. As I hear you say it, I'm like, I'm sure you've partook in over $1 million worth of launches. You know what I mean? Like you've had your hand in, it's always so funny how it, sometimes we just haven't gotten specific on, well, yeah, I generated $1 million. I just, it was for someone else's launch or something like that. Yeah, no, I totally get that. So patience is important because I think that impatience is leading to a fear that it's not going to work. And we need to get back to that place. We need to get back to the knowing, the certainty, the unwavering doubt and excitement of it is coming. I know it. I can feel it. I can't wait. But I'm here in this moment, super grateful, super happy, passionate, and excited. And then simply put, I think you need to look for your driftwood. You need to look for something that will give you proof and maybe just go out and do something to create that proof. We've worked on physical products and that is a whole new world for me. And we hit a milestone where I said, okay, we're not going to this next step unless we do something like a Kickstarter. Someone told me, they came to me and they're like, why would you do a Kickstarter? You don't need to waste your time with that. Just use your own capital. You don't need to ask people for money. I was like, that's not why I'm doing it. Mm-hmm. You're doing it to test the market. You're going to learn a lot. We have just a prototype. It's just a 3D printed, which is very easy to get that far in the process. Let me tell you, that's really easy. But I'm not going to continue any further until I do the Kickstarter, not because of the money, but because it'll be an indicator of proof that I'm on the right track or not. Where can we do that? You can look all around. Are people signing up for an early bird notification that your stuff's going live? Are people willing to work with you one-on-one? Are you getting a Facebook group to a certain amount of people? Look for the proof along the way. And as Phoebe kind of mentioned, you can start, and this is another episode to go deeper on, but you can start at the ending point where you're at all the results that you have, you got the results you want, and you start to look backwards at those milestones. Well, what were the 4 or 5 milestones before getting there that were huge indicators that I was on the right track?
And last week we talked a little bit, and I think this kind of ties in with Patty Palmer's episode a little bit, is like going back to your why. And so why is that important to you? Why is this big vision such a big vision for you? And one thing that I kind of brought up in my notes before the show was something, well, I guess it's when you're motorbiking or on a motorbike. If you're looking in the side mirror, you're going to crash. Like if you're looking in the rear, the rear view mirror, but side mirrors, you're going to crash. If you look too far ahead, you're also going to crash because you're not paying attention what's happening right here. But there's something called object fixation, which is when if you focus on the one spot that you're going to go, then you're going to hit it, whatever it is. So, for example, we were in Bali on a motorbike and there was this huge rock. And the person who was driving the bike just kept staring at the rock and eventually hit it and we fell off. And that was the only accident I've ever had. But we were laughing about it afterwards. And I was like, what happened? He goes, I couldn't stop staring at this huge boulder in the road. And then we hit it. We kind of looked it up. We're like, oh, it's called object fixation. So, Kat, what I would say is if you just keep looking at, where it is that you're going, whatever that first milestone is, yeah, you can see ahead of it. You know where you're headed. But stare at that one place that you're going, you'll get there faster, and that's it.
So, Kat, thank you so much for the question. I hope we gave some clarity, some insight, and I hope we were able to provide value to our other listeners. We really appreciate you guys submitting your questions. If you haven't submitted a question yet and you're feeling the urge to do so, head on over to mindyourbusinesspodcast.com, submit your questions there, and we can feature you on one of our next upcoming episodes.
And if you haven't left us a review on iTunes, head over to jameswedmore.com/iTunes. Do that. We love reading them and getting all your feedback. So thank you so much for doing that.
And hey, we wanted to do a quick shout out to some of our listeners who have left some really kind reviews and words over on iTunes. This is from Spiral7418053, says grateful. The law of attraction perspective has really grown on me. I went from previously totally turned off by it to better understanding it and now experiencing delight and freedom in it. I really appreciate that James and Phoebe have a pretty grounded approach. It's about experiencing ease, flow, and synchronicity, not expecting to have everything we want the instant we want it. It's important for me to feel part of a greater whole rather than selfishly seeing myself at the center of everything. I love this podcast's commitment to both being open to the universe and valuing efficiency and results. Thanks, James and Phoebe.
That's an awesome one. Okay. The next one, this subject is better than any course I've paid for. 5 stars from Holistic Muse. Hi there. I'm so grateful I found your podcast. I listen to a ton. I've purchased multiple courses. Your podcast is practical plus magical. There's something I gain from every single second I listen. Thank you. I've learned to turn my business problems into projects. I've up-leveled my view of myself and most important, have come back to my woo-woo self. For years, I was told that woo-woo isn't professional, even as a massage therapist. So I went up to my attic, pulled out all my crystals, my books, my oracle cards, everything that I once sold in my gift shop that I once had in my massage office. I set out oracle cards in my waiting room. Clients love them. I have crystals placed all over the waiting room and my treatment room. I'm starting Woo Woo Crew book club for local woo-woos. Since I've stepped back into my own skin, business has never been better. Thank you so much. You're both amazing.
Thank you, everyone. Are you frustrated that no matter how hard you hustle, no matter how much you get done in a day, you still feel like you have little results to show for it? Do you feel like you're doing everything right, but there's still something missing? Well, what if there was an easier way? What if your business could be fun, effortless, and profitable? Phoebe and I have put together a free audio MP3 for you, compiling the 77 business affirmations for creating success from the inside out. And we want to give it to you absolutely free. This is your chance to rewire your brain for bigger results in your life and your business. To get instant access absolutely free, simply visit 77affirmations.com. That's the number 77affirmations.com.